everybody, it's Mena. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is the very first video that you're seeing of me, then welcome to my channel. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below if you didn't already. I post every day of the week for a while. And today in this video, I'm going to tell you guys how to sell your hand knit goods. So I know there's a lot of people who knit or crochet who are kind of struggling. A lot of us don't have jobs due to the pandemic right now. So a way to also make money is you can sell your hand knit goods. That's what I do a lot, is I love to sell my knitting, and I'm going to tell you guys how I do it. And over the quarantine, I've had so much time to actually time myself for knitting, because this is what my mom's been trying to get me to do for years since I first started knitting, because we were trying to figure out how much to charge and everything, and half the time I would forget to time myself, which made it very difficult for me to figure out how much to charge. So we looked up a lot of stuff, like we did some our research over quarantine about how to sell hand knit goods and what to do, and I'm going to tell you guys how I sell my hand knit goods, and hopefully they help you sell your hand knit or hand crocheted goods. So I'm going to get started. So the first thing you do is you decide what kind of project to make. Like, you can make anything you want. You can make like a snood, a scarf, or a hat. So I have a snood right here. This is one of my examples I'm holding up. It's actually an order for a customer, but I'm just showing you guys how to sell the hand knit goods and how to keep organized with your hand knit goods. Good. So for this snood, I used a ball of Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. This usually takes me about 2 balls of Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick to make. And then I go for size needles. These are size 15, which are way bigger than my recommended needle size. So I normally use size 13 for this pattern. And so basically you just want to pick your needle yarn and your recommended needle size for this, and then you figure out what kind of project you want to do. Once you've found out what project you want to do, you want to get a timer. I don't have a timer on me right now, which kind of stinks. Let me grab my phone for you guys. Next, you want to get a timer, and you're going to want to set it for about an hour and stuff, because like to see how many rows you get per hour. You don't want to set it for like 20 to 30 minutes, because it's always important to set it for an hour, because minimum wage is $12 per hour. So it's easier to set your alarm on your phone for an hour. But I recommend not using your phone for timing, because it'll take up like most of your battery. So I suggest using a regular timer. But if you don't have a regular timer, you can always use your phone. Sorry, my camera was blurry for a second. Next, once that hour is up, you will write down the number of hours you have per row. So right here I have a paper. If you can read that, I'm making a pair of fingerless gloves, and so far I've done 22 rows per hour. But mainly it just depends on how fast you actually knit. Some people will get less rows under an hour, some people get more rows under an hour, but it just depends on how fast you knit. And stuff. Once you've finished once you finish the first hour, set another hour, and then you write down how many rows. Another good tip is when you're keeping track of the number of rows you're doing per hour, you might want to take a whiteboard and an expo marker handy, so you can write down the number of rows you did per hour, because if you do so many rows in each hour, you're easily going to get lost. I know I definitely get lost if I do so many rows per hour. I'll forget what number I'm on and what row I started at during that hour. So I like to keep this in handy so that I can keep track. Once you've finished your project, you're going to want to also take the yarn you used and look at the price you did. So let's say the yarn that I bought was $6.99, and then it took me 6 hours to knit. and then multiply that by 12 because it's 12, because every hour you work you get $12. It's $12 per hour, and it goes to this. So it just depends on like the price of, so basically I hope this makes sense, that it depends on like the price of the yarn you use, how many skeins you use, and let's say you use more than one skein. So if you end up using 2 skeins, you add that to the price. You add that to the price of the you multiply that by the price of the yarn you had bought. And sometimes it depends on what type of yarn you buy and how much it is at the store, because every yarn costs different at the store. Next, you add the number of hours you worked, or let's say you worked 5 hours and you multiply by 12, and then once you've added the $12, because it's $12 per hour that you work, which is minimum wage, and let's say you worked 5 hours, that would be $60 plus the price of the yarn and the number of skeins you used, and it go up to this number. But sometimes it's always good to charge well for the work that you get for your knitting, but sometimes you don't want to overcharge way too much. Like one time I made a shawl scarf for somebody. So I'll show you guys what a shawl scarf looks like. So this is a shawl scarf. This thing took me about 16 hours to knit this whole thing, plus adding the fringe. And this is what it looks like when I'm wearing it. So I made this. This thing took me 16 hours, plus the cost of the yarn. I can't remember how much the yarn I bought was, but I remember it was a little bit pricey because I had to use 3 skeins of the yarn, and then it took me 16 hours to make the whole thing, plus adding the fringe and stuff. So it did ended up being pretty pricey, but I did kind of do a discount just so the person wouldn't have to pay so much, even though I still wanted to get my money's worth. I wanted to make it a reasonable price for both of us. So another good tip is, if your project ends up taking you such a long time, kind of like put a little discount on it, so then that person doesn't have to pay so much money. Even though you want to get your money's worth out of certain things, don't overcharge people, because I know there's a lot of people who actually aren't working right now, and you don't want to overcharge them, because there's a lot of people who aren't working right now and out of work, so they need the money to feed their families, provide a home and everything. So just make a reasonable price for both yourself and the customer. Or like my shawl scarf took me 16 hours, and that ended up to being $192. So I ended up not charging the person so much. I only just charged $100 and took 19 off the price, so she wouldn't have to pay so much. So just make a reasonable price for your customers, even though you don't want them to overpay, you still want to get your money's worth out of it. But just make a reasonable price for both you and your customer, and hopefully your customer will agree on the price for the project. If they don't agree, yeah, you're gonna have to keep it, but if they do agree and still want to buy it, that is totally okay. Okay, that's good, because then you'll get your money's worth out of it. So don't always expect to make people pay a full price that you've worked really hard on, worked quite a lot on, because sometimes people don't have that exact money. But if they don't have the exact money, you can always hang on to it for them if they still want it. But if they can't pay for it, just keep it, because you don't want to be taken advantage of. And I definitely did learn the lesson about how to be careful when you give people their orders, because sometimes they don't pay for them, even though they say they're going to pay for them. So watch out for that. So I hope this video was really helpful for you guys on how to charge for your knitting and everything, and how it works. and how it works. And I hope it was very explainable for you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about how to charge for your knitting, just comment down below. And if you guys have any other video requests, comment down below as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I post every day of the week for a while, and I'll see you in everybody soon. Bye!